Hi guys, Eva here. Welcome back to my channel, The Ink Reader. First of all, I apologize for the noise, but we've got builders in front of us and then there's gaming going on in the room just in front of me. So it's gonna be noisy and I apologize for that, but we're just gonna roll with it anyway because I just wanted to film today. Also, I am literally melting up, so this is an area in the house where I got a bit of hair passing. If the temperature was to rise more than what it actually already is, I will probably not arrive at the end of this video. It's hot. We have a heat wave. I've been suffering. So in my previous video, I was listing basically all the series that I'm in the midst of. So I've started at least one book in the series, but I never finished the series. And I realized that's a staggering amount of series that I'm in the middle of. And that I felt ashamed of myself that I keep starting series and never finishing them. So I actually went back to my video and I chose 10 books that I just need to read one and be done with the series. So today I'm doing exactly this. I'm doing a TBR of 10 series that I'm gonna finish and wrap up in a follow-up video. So these are 10 books that I can take off my TBR. And I think it's a huge achievement considering that I had almost like 90 series that I'm in the middle of. So tackling 10 of them is not gonna make a huge difference, but because all the rest of the series that I mentioned in that video, I actually have to read way more than one book to finish or continue with the series. And I actually struggled to find 10 that were basically just one book left. I thought at least I'm gonna take this out and at least I can say that this year I finished series, because every year at the end of the year I try to like wrap up my reading year, which is a lot of years in one sentence, but anyway, and I feel like I never make progresses with series. So this is kind of, well, progress, hopefully. And before I start, like the background is actually one of my comics bookshelf that I got actually during the move. I brought this with me, painted it, made it white so it would fit the rest of the house. And these are all comics, but this is not a bookshelf too, so let's just crack on with the rest of the video. We got different genres in this TBR, which is positive, but it's gonna be mostly fantasy, to be fair. So the first one, which is probably one of the most famous that everybody will be familiar with, is Dark Dawn by J. Christoph. Assassin fantasy. If you want to know what I mean by that, click up here. I've done a video on all fantasy genres and recommendations. I need to finish the series, which is just a trilogy, and this is about Mia Corvera. In the first book, her family gets murdered and she wants revenge, and she goes to a school of assassin to become a kick-ass assassin and revenge her parents, and then things get way more complicated than that, but I really enjoy the writing, really love this so far. Not a perfect 5-star, the second one, but I'm really looking forward to continue on, as I enjoyed overall really much the series. So yeah, Dark Dawn. Also these books, the aesthetics are just best. Also, this video is made in 2020 in August, so if by any chance any of this series will get follows up, I didn't know, so it's not my fault. Then actually we have the only contemporary, I believe, series, and this is 5 Ways to Fall by K.A. Tucker. This is the 10 Tiny Breaths series. It's companion books, and in each of them you got 2 different main characters, so you got a new couple. I don't read many contemporaries by K.A. Tucker. The second book in this companion series is one of my favorite contemporaries ever, so I'm just really looking forward to finish the series, although the protagonist of this one was not my favorite character in other books. He appears in other books before, but I don't have any idea of the actual synopsis for these. These are companion series where you meet the characters before, so somehow what the events that happens in the book previously, although it's not the main couple, are still kind of impacting what happens later. So I would say definitely go in order, but for someone who doesn't these days read many contemporaries, having loved these and I haven't read many contemporaries in the past, I think it's a really good sign, and definitely recommend the series overall. I think this is the 5th and final book in the series. And now I've got 3 series that I've read in my teenagehood and I really enjoyed back then. Now with these, I'm trying to kind of tackle a lot of series that I've started maybe when I was a teenager and so on, to see if I want to continue on or finish here basically the journey. And I think because I love those very much, I just definitely want to finish the series, and hopefully they will stand the test of time, but we will see, I guess, when I wrap them up. However, I just want to also add that I will continue, of course, reading YA. I'm definitely looking forward in future to kind of reduce the amount of YA that I read, just because a lot of times I've noticed that these days I give like a lower ratings. I'm steering more toward non-fiction, horror, crime, adult literature fiction novels to these days. And so I want to, not saying that I'm not going to read YA again after I wrap up this series, but that I'm going to probably DNF some series if I'm not thinking that I won't like it, or probably I won't even start a new series. I will do a video of all the series that I own and have not started yet, but I might actually decide not to start some. I'm starting to enjoy YA a bit less. Said that I will always read that as I read still middle grade. It's just the quantity is going to be probably reduced. So I'm happy to wrap up series that I loved in the past and just be done with them, so I can move forward to read other stuff. The first one of that YA series of this long rant, apologies, is Eternal Dawn by Rebecca Mason. I don't remember the title of this series. If I remember correctly, it's been like, I'm not kidding, like 12 years since I read this. So you follow a woman who's been a vampire for centuries, and then one day she kind of, for a series of events, have to go to high school or something like that, and she has to kind of mingle with humans, and that will let her to kind of got attached to humans and not consider them only food and so on. And I remember that at the time where vampires were mostly like the male characters, having actually a female vampire main character who was kind of really not happy with humans at the beginning of the first book. At least it was a really good novice, and I really enjoyed the love story in it. I really remember that it stood out to me, and that I really enjoyed the relationships and the characters. So I'm looking forward to finish this and wrap this up. And then we have another series which I enjoy a bit less than the one I just mentioned, but I still enjoyed it enough, and this is Goddess by Josephine Angelini. And if I'm not mistaken, this is about basically gods that are reincarnated in humans. The story of these goddesses and gods mingling with each other and just having, you know, tons of shit happening to them. It happens again, all over again, every time. And then we got the main protagonist, she's Aphrodite, and I don't remember the guy who is. But anyway, gods, I love Greek mythology. I'm looking forward to wrap up this series. It's a trilogy. The first is Star-Crossed and Dreamless. So you got them here. Let's see if I will hate it 10 years later, or actually happy, or it's just in the middle. And then we got The Anxiety of Calix, the Werewolf by Martin Miller. Now, this is, back then when I was a teenager, this was one of my favorite books. Now, this is the story of Calix, and Calix, she is a werewolf, and she is a really savage werewolf coming from a Scotland pack, I believe. And their family, the way these families of werewolves are handling territory, and they're ferocious. They are, I remember that because I was a teenager back then, I was not used to read horror and all that. I thought this was really graphic and really out there. Calix, she is feral when she first meets in the first book two humans that basically save her. And she's on the run from her clan, if I'm not mistaken, because there's a whole bunch of politics behind that. But I remember really, really loving the first one. And to these days, it's a pity that I don't own here. I mean, I got in Italian the two first books, but they're back in Italy. I would have loved to actually read those two and then continue on, but at this point I will just continue on. And if I love this one day I can just reread the trilogy all over again. But definitely if you like werewolf, female werewolf, again, you can see the same kind of thing with this one, where yes, it tended to be like, you know, the male was the feral, broody, the bad guy would turn out to be actually awesome, and he was always usually the vampire or the werewolf or whatever. In this case, we got both females that are the feral bad guys one, and it's maybe why I really enjoy those. So it's a brick, and I cannot wait. Speaking of bricks, this is definitely a brick, and this is Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. Now, of course, speaking about teenagehood, my, you know, cherished series of back then, I cannot not mention Twilight. I don't want to get in any argument about that. I did enjoy Twilight, and I read it back then, so I read it at the right time when I was a teenager, so all of that. But I was really unexpecting this, and I don't know if I'm excited. I mean, I'm kind of neutral toward this. I've heard good things about this, and since it's been years and years since I read Twilight, but I still remember the feelings that they gave me. I'm really hoping that this will kind of ignite that flame again. Even as an adult woman now, which is, it's gonna be a really different experience, but maybe not. Maybe it can bring back time, and I really wish that it does. Now I'm a bit concerned, is that like all the saga told from Edward's point of view, or just Twilight? I don't know, if you know, let me know. Went on Goodreads and there is apparently no other book coming out. So as of now, I'll consider this the end of a beloved series. And we'll just move on to the next. Then another one that I don't have with me just because usually I order the copies from Australia, and I was waiting for the paperback to come out. So to match my all other copies is gonna be The King of Crows by Libba Bray, which is the final book in the Diviners Quartet. Really enjoy this paranormal fantasy series. In the first book, basically you follow a bunch of different characters, and each of them more or less have some paranormal power. It can be from reading objects to seeing the future and all that. And this takes place in the 20s in New York, if I'm not mistaken. It was the 20s, and I really loved it. And it goes really dark. It gets really creepy. I mean, kind of being out now used to read more horror, it's not horror, but it's definitely unsettling, I would say. It gives you that spooky kind of shivers, which I really enjoyed. But if you are too young of a reader, you might be wanting to maybe skip this one or wait a little bit, because it does get a bit scary, and there are really scary ghosts and all of that. And I'm really looking forward to read the last one to see how everything gets wrapped up. I was left speechless after the third one ended, so I'm really gonna hopefully love this one. Another one that I will have actually to buy is, it's called The Tattooed Heart, and this is just a duology. The first one was Messenger of Fears. I do own it someplace, but I don't own the sequel. And what I can remember for the first one is that you got a teenager that dies, and she is given a really dark task basically in the underworld, something like that. I might completely be butchering this. It's been, again, maybe 7 years since I've read the first one. I just remember that this girl had to do some really shitty things, and she had these kind of powers that were bestowed upon her, and it was kind of a dark series. But it's not about her being a bad guy or anything. It was more on the neutral side, you know, like if you are the Grim Reaper, where you got a shitty job to do, but at the end of the day you're neutral, you're not necessarily bad. So I think it was kind of premise similar to that, and I want to know how this duology concludes, because I think you follow the same protagonist from the first book, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely need to refresh my memory on this. The next two series, which I don't own, but I need to, one I will listen on audiobook, and the other I will probably buy, possibly. That both series are really popular, really famous series that I kind of felt in the middle, kind of flat for me. I didn't hate them, otherwise I would have not gone to this point where I do want to read the final one, but I definitely didn't enjoy as much as the others. However, I think, again, if you are part of this kind of world with books and so on, it is kind of nice to know what happens, because a lot of other books then that came after are based, or these books are still mentioned to these days, talking about other books, and it's just, I want to know and I don't want to get spoiled. So why I put them in here is that for me they will be completed. Definitely, I will probably never pick up the rest of the sequel trilogies. I won't put my hands on the fire about that, but I'm pretty sure that I'll be done. And they're both YA, very popular series. One is Ignite Me by Tahara Mafi. This is the third book in the Shatter Me trilogy. Dystopian kind of sci-fi, where you got the main protagonist that whoever she touches dies. And again, this is really popular. I'm not gonna go into that. I listened to the audiobooks for the first two. Really 3 stars around, but I'm gonna wrap this up, the first trilogy, just because, again, I want to know what everybody's talking about, because there's a love triangle in this, and I want to see how she makes that happen, because as of now, from the second book, and I've just read the first 2, it seems like I'm probable of it. Everybody's loving this guy so much, so I need to understand why everybody loves that guy so much, and I'll be done. I know that another trilogy came out, other books, I will probably not bother with that. And then the other book is Ruin and Rising by Lee Bardugo. I want to read Six of Crows, the duology. And I know that for this trilogy now there is like King of Scars, I believe it's called, and which is starting basically a new trilogy that takes place after, with probably some characters, but not all of them. But I didn't love Ruin and Risings to pieces. Okay, probably this is a 3.5 stars, 3.5 stars, sorry. So I like this fantasy series a bit more than Shatter Me, if I have to compare the two. But I mean, I've heard horrible things about King of Scars, and again, I am kind of falling out of this trend of YA fantasy. I prefer definitely adult fantasy. So I'm gonna wrap this up here. I will have read it. I already know what happens because it's kind of impossible not to have it spoiled. But again, I want to see how it happens if you want, and then I'll just move on with my life. And now my legs are gone. I cannot feel them anymore. I am tired and I am sweaty. I want to just lay down and read. So I will say bye. I will wrap those up together in a follow-up video so you can hear what I thought about them, hopefully before the end of times. I'm really famous to be always late and be terrible keeping promises when it comes down to TBRs. Thank you for watching. Sorry about the rants, and I'll see you next time. If I can find something that will allow my blood to flow in my legs so I can keep filming here sometimes, that would be nice, depending also on the lights. I've mentioned before I don't have my proper bookshelves up yet. I just got comics ones, which I love. I love how they came out. I will do a tour, no worries about that. I'm gonna put here like a small video so you can have a look at this one. Sneak peek. And I'll see you next time. Enjoy your day, night, depending where you are. Ciao!